I think you need people in your life who will tell you what you don't want to hear, and that you're willing to listen to. And so when you call them as a board member, you say, don't tell me what I want to hear, tell me what I need to hear. And they've been invaluable in shaping who I am as a leader today. And there were definitely moments in my career where I was like, well, this is unfair. And they were like, put your big girl pants on, like, this is life.
Kristin, it's so great to have you be part of this conversation. Zoetis is a big company, $10 billion in revenue, but a lot of people aren't that familiar with it. I know what it is because I have to give my dog Simparica.
And we're grateful for those sales.
Simparica Trio once a month, but explain Zoetis to us.
Sure. Zoetis, for those who don't know it, is the world's largest animal health company. We make medicines, vaccines, diagnostics, devices, and genetics for pretty much every species other than humans. So dogs, cats, horses, chickens, pigs, cows, and salmon that you probably had last night. And so we do half our sales in the US and half abroad. So we really look at it from prediction, prevention, detection, and treatment of disease.
So there's a lot in there I want to talk about, but I just want to start with the question of, during the pandemic, something happened between people and their pets. There was a big transformation that took place. How did that look from where you sit?
Well, what's great about the industry we're in is that it's very resilient. It's resilient because it's based on two main things. One, the human-animal bond, which we saw and experienced through COVID, but to be frank, has been evolving for a while. So if you think back 30 years ago, your dog might have been in the backyard, then it moved to your house, it's now in your bed, and I would actually argue it probably has a stroller, a psychiatrist, and clothes now. So, I think there's that. And then obviously a safe, affordable food supply. And those are pretty resilient and enduring trends. But I would say what happened in COVID was people really saw that human-animal bond and how much they were dependent on that pet for their happiness and well-being. The reality is people with pets live longer, healthier lives. So.
And how did that affect your business?
Well, we were one of the lovely recipients of a lot of people adopting pets. And the first year you have a pet, it's great because you go to the vet all the time for vaccines and appointments. So it certainly drove our business. But if you really look, as you know, because we've talked about this many times, the compound annual growth rate of our company since we IPO'd in 2013 is 8%. So, we might have hit like 15% in COVID, but it's still a fast-growing industry. And, that's Zoetis. The industry itself grows 4 to 6. So with innovation, we've been able to grow faster.
And I want to get into innovation, but just keep going a little bit. So there's the pet issue, which has driven your growth, but you're also a big part of the global food supply. You're playing an important role in the availability of food, the environmental impact of food, all of that. Can you talk about that part of the business?
Yeah, about 35% of our business is in livestock, and that really is about a safe, affordable food supply. But I really take a step back, and I think it's actually about One Health. And I think what most people don't realize is 70% of infectious disease in humans is actually zoonotic. In other words, it came from an animal. And I think if you add from that to a safe, affordable food supply, so food security, which is a key issue across the globe, and then you add climate, our livestock business plays an incredibly important part, certainly the growth of the company, but more importantly, globally, as you think about food security, as you think about One Health. And I think one of the best examples of that, as you really look at it, is you look at COVID and making sure that you could do that, or you look today at high-path avian influenza. Zoetis, for both of those, is developing vaccines. And we were lucky in COVID that it didn't affect a lot of the pets and things like that, but we actually were critical to wildlife centers and zoos, as you know, where we donated vaccines because it affected big cats. So we constantly look at those zoonotic diseases and ensuring that they don't move to humans, and that keeping animals protected keeps humans protected.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your leadership because I've watched you in this job for a while, and I know you're very conscious and purposeful about how you lead. How did you get here? I mean, did you dream of being a CEO when you were little? I mean, what was your path to the head of this giant company?
Sure. I did not. I guess I just didn't have the creativity as a child to dream that. I always knew I wanted a job that had meaning. And I think really when I found the purpose of Zoetis, all of a sudden I was like, this is a place I can really see myself being CEO. And when I think about sort of the blueprint for my leadership, it's first starts with being purpose-driven. And I feel deeply, and you and I have talked about this, about what we do. Our purpose is to nurture the world and humankind by advancing care for animals. I get up every day excited by that purpose. I'm obsessed with customers, customer-driven. Our innovation, which I'm sure we'll talk about, is always putting that customer first and then built to adapt. My career path, I would call it an obstacle course to get here. It was not a straight line. I didn't start in animal health. I started in finance, actually commercial real estate finance. I worked in consulting. I worked in human pharmaceuticals. I've done roles from obviously finance to business development, M&A, which, as you know, I led at Pfizer. It was not a straight line.
Why do you call it an obstacle course?
Because I think most people think you move up a ladder. And I think you move up, you may go sideways, you may have to find your way back. And whenever I talk to the next generation, I think they should think more creatively about what they learn in each job. And I'd look at some of my roles, which were incredibly hard. One of the hardest jobs I ever had was actually leading manufacturing. It was, a new company was one of the things that reported to me when I, became part of Zoetis from Pfizer.
And just to be clear for everyone, Zoetis was part of Pfizer.
Yes.
Spun out in 2013. You went with it.
Yeah, so we were born an adult, but we didn't have a supply chain. So it was my job to make sure we could establish that, because they separated. We didn't have any of those functions before. But that was humbling. It was really, really hard. It wasn't wow, I just kept stepping up. It was having to go sideways. I'd done some consulting to manufacturing companies that did not make me an expert. But at the end of the day, I'm driven by curiosity. I want to learn. So I would just say my career was not a straight line. I didn't always want to be a CEO, but when I got to Zoetis, I was passionate. I kind of was this could be my place.
Did you have a mentor, a leadership mentor, somebody that you could fall back on, give you advice on how to do this?
Well, I don't know if Emily's here. I've talked to Emily before. I feel like I have my own board of directors. They never meet as an official board, but I think you need people in your life who will tell you what you don't want to hear, and that you're willing to listen to. And so when you call them as a board member, you say, don't tell me what I want to hear, tell me what I need to hear. And they've been invaluable in shaping who I am as a leader today. And there were definitely moments in my career where I was well, this is unfair. And they were put your big girl pants on, this is life, get a grip.
Should we ask who they are? Are they people we know?
Oh yeah, no, I thankfully have lots of people. Alan Schwartz at Guggenheim was certainly one of them. Eric Pleiner, Yvonne. I've had people, I've been really fortunate that a lot of people have taken a bet on me throughout my career. And I feel like my responsibility as a CEO, since I became a CEO in 2020, is to make bets on others, to, pay that forward.
So how would you define your leadership style? What is the Kristin Peck? What are the top rules of leadership?
The first is listen. I think listening is everything these days, especially in a fast-changing world. I think, humble and curious. I want to make sure that I feel like my role is to take roadblocks out of people's way. It's to set a clear vision. But I can only do that if I'm super curious and I'm listening to lots of different people, and I can synthesize that and articulate a clear vision. And I have a phenomenal team of people. So to me, it's hire the best people. We have great IP, obviously, at Zoetis, but at the end of the day, that's created by people. So to me, it's
you do a podcast on leadership. I've listened to it. You've had a lot of different.
You've been my
people.
guest.
I've been on it. It was an honor. You've had a lot of different people on it. Why do you do it? How does that help you lead Zoetis?
Because I get inspired by other people's stories and what I can learn from them. The podcast, for those who don't know it, is called On Purpose. It's on LinkedIn. And what I love to do is interview leaders about their purpose and how that really coincides with the company they lead and how that drives them. I think we all like to see different role models. I've certainly seen many different ones, but I think maybe I like to learn from lots of different industries. And I find that when I interview people, you find new nuggets that help inspire you to take that new challenge that comes tomorrow. And you're like, you know what, I've heard something like this and I remember this, and that really helps. So to me, I hope that's what it brings to other people. It's also been a great recruiting tool actually for Zoetis, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You've been able to bring in some people.
Yeah.
Well, great. So let's talk about innovation. First of all, how are animal drugs different than human drugs?
They're actually very similar, to be honest with you. There may be some different diseases that we focus on, but at the end of the day, our technologies are exactly the same. So we make monoclonal antibodies. We have 3 of them. We just charge a lot less than you do for humans because I live in a self-pay environment. Most people don't have insurance. In Europe, there may be a higher level of pet insurance. But really, we look deeply at empathy. What are our customers struggling with? And our customers are vet or livestock producers. What are the things they're struggling with? How do we bring data to that? We have the most data of any animal health company, and I would argue in different types, many human healths, because we're in genetics, we're in diagnostics, we're in devices, we're in vaccines, and we're in treatment. So we take all that data to really go after white spaces. So osteoarthritis, as you know, for dog and for cat. I think big new markets that'll be $2 to $3 billion for us will be renal and chronic kidney disease for dog and for cat. Oncology, right now there's really not much approved. We have the only product in oncology right now, Palladia. Look at cardiology. These are spaces, believe it or not, in animal health where there's no product today. And they're going to be massive new markets, and these will drive the growth of Zoetis to come.
Less regulated than human health.
No, we are just as regulated.
Really?
That would be great, but as not, I would actually argue we have more regulators. In the U.S., we have 3 regulators. We have the FDA, the USDA, and the EPA, depending on the product. So shaping the environment globally is important.
Does animal health lead to improvement in human health? Do you have examples of that, or are we not at that point?
No, the advantage we have is for most human health, I don't know how many people, they have to go in animals first. And so oftentimes new biotech companies will partner with us, or AI companies will partner with us because they can get their proof of concept and get paid for it. So for example, we were the first to launch AI diagnostics with a company called TechSite. They wanted to get into human, but they were trying to figure out they had to demonstrate it. So we demonstrated it with fecal, which, believe it or not, your dog gets a fecal exam every time it comes in every year. But we now have 6 indications. And I tell this as a story because sometimes, animal health can provide a whole different vision of what human health is like. You could bring your dog in today and have digital cytology or skin checked or even a tumor checked, and we can tell you what it is while you're still at the vet. Whereas you may go in for a biopsy and you'll wait 24 to 48 hours. Using AI and our Images platform, you can get an answer while you're still at the vet, and we can actually get a pathologist on the phone with your vet while you're still at the vet to talk to you about potential treatment options for that. So we really see AI as something that we're using today, and we really see the next partner for TechSite was the Mayo Clinic. So we do get some of these technologies early, and then they move into human health.
Yeah, so AI has clearly transformed diagnostic imaging, as you were just explaining. I keep hearing people talk about what it can do in the area of drug discovery, potentially huge increases in productivity. Are you seeing that yet in drug research and discovery? So explain how it works.
As you and I talked, I'm super passionate about this. I think that AI's potential in healthcare is incredible, and in a few ways. One, it can make things faster. So if you look at early discovery, picking a target for us to go after, it can read every journal ever written. It can look at every study ever done to pick a target. Then you move into research. It can then pick the molecule. And it's not just going to do it faster, it's going to do it better. You can really look at, off-target potential side effects and really find the perfect molecule. And then you go into development. You still have to test that in animals, but you can write those reports. So for human and animal, we're a little faster because we go in animals first. So maybe call it 7 years to get a product to market. We could cut years off. And that's obviously higher ROI, but it's also going to develop better molecules. We can also, though, learn with molecules that are currently on the market through real-world data, insights we never had before. So I think there's just a massive potential for AI to speed it and to improve it for the future pipeline, but also for what's on the market today.
So we talked about leadership and your leadership style, and we talked about innovation. Can you talk about how those two things fit together? I mean, we've had a lot of conversations here over the last few days about the speed of change and how you build an organization that can adapt and adopt and embrace change at that speed. How do you do it?
I know this sounds like a broken record. It starts with being really clear on your mission and who works for you, and then really believing in that. We're one of the only, there's only 2 or 3 animal health companies that are public. Most of my competition is owned by human pharma. I get up every day passionate about my customer. And so we're purpose-driven, we're customer-led, and we're built to adapt. We have constant emerging infectious disease in our space. We have to constantly be coming up with new vaccines, new treatments, and I feel like it's that sense of urgency. I describe myself, and I think you and I have talked about this, as a frustrated optimist. I'm really proud. We're the market leader, but I am never complacent. I think we always have to be raising the bar, and I think that's what drives us as a company is our customers.
What's the biggest challenge you've faced in this job as CEO?
Operating at pace with a large global colleague base is making sure that I was listening this morning, and I think a few of the speakers, including Julie, are talking about the need for communication. I think some of the skills of your leaders in a constantly changing world, being constantly clear on what we control, what we're doing, and why is so important. And to me, making sure that when you operate at pace and you're innovating in new technologies like we are, how do we do that for our colleagues, and how do we do that for our customers? Oftentimes, the products we are offering changes the way a vet practice will actually operate. Just because you built it, just because you innovated, doesn't make it successful. You have to have innovation with execution. And to me, being really clear on what our innovation means to our colleagues and to our customers is something, especially when you're on the sort of the edge of innovation. I have to make sure I'm constantly helping my customers understand the new innovation we're bringing so they can actually drive impact.
Communication is huge,
Yes.
huge part of the job.
Yep.
Yeah. Biggest mistake you've made since you've been in this job?
I would say, when I took this job, I had this vision of what a CEO would be like, and I had a phenomenal predecessor, a guy named Juan Ramon Alex, who was Spaniard, and I thought that was the role of the CEO. And I started this job, and I thought I'd go around, tour the world, give speeches, and talk about my vision. I wasn't really me. Like, I'm a much more casual person, and I think I kind of realized in my first few months, the world needed me to be me and not what I expected the world to be. And I look at just correcting myself and really saying, trust in my instincts, which I think for my first few months, I was trying to be someone that I think people expected me to be. And I think my lesson learned in that was, if you are genuinely yourself, you can connect much better with people. And I feel like I've been much more successful since I was willing to just be me and not be what the world expected necessarily of a CEO. But I think that's what has made connection easier for me.
Is coaching your team in that leadership approach a big part of what you do every day?
Yeah, I think when you give leaders a new job, they have this imposter syndrome, I think, for a while about what they think the world expects of them. And, what got you here is not necessarily going to get you there, but you have to be authentic in what you're learning. And so, I think it's okay to say I don't know yet, like we're talking about this morning. And I feel like that's one of my big things with new leaders is being willing to take feedback. I mean, the challenges I'm facing today are different than they were 6 years ago when I took the job. I have to still be willing to hear that feedback. And so to me, it's a lot about role modeling that. So demonstrating when I could have done a better job. And I often talk about what went well that day and what I think I could have done a better job as coaching to role model what I hope for my leaders can do.
Yeah, so throw it forward 5 years, 10 years. How is your business going to be different because of this wave of technology that you're bringing in?
I really think what's exciting is we're going to address huge unmet medical needs that people aren't even imagining about today. What I'm really hoping is that pet owners can access care in new ways that they never have been able to before, that we can make it more affordable. I actually think you can extend the lives of pets, and I think that's really what our vision is, again, to nurture the world and humankind. And I think that human-animal bond, I mean, I've had a number of friends who have challenged me, like, will we all have AI pets? Is the future? Brad Jacobs and I debated this at length. Will the pets be? I'm a firm believer. No, there's something about
AI will not replace my dog.
It's not going to replace mine, and I know you, and it's not going to replace your dog either. But I do think that the role of human and animals is really never going to change. If you think about a safe, affordable food supply and the human-animal bond.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I have do a bit of a speed round here.
Okay,
All
right.
A bunch of questions. You ready for this?
I hope so.
First of all, are you a poodle person or golden retriever person?
I have a golden retriever.
There you go.
It's actually a white retriever, but same difference.
Does that feed your leadership style? You learn things about leadership from the dog?
I would say not this dog, it's a puppy. I've learned, maybe my lab, I would say.
How do you deal with the stress of the job? Are you a yoga person, a cardio person, or?
I'm a outside cardio person.
Yeah?
Run or walk in nature. Yes, that's my thing.
Good for you. Do you do your most creative work on your own, or do you do it mostly in groups with others?
In groups with others.
You're a people person.
Believe it or not, I'm an ambivert, but I find I need to get my great ideas by collaborating with others, and then I need quiet time to process. But
and how about media? Are you a White Lotus person or a Yellowstone person?
Yellowstone all the way.
Yellowstone. Good. Kristin Peck, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to talk to you.